Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today I am going to react to a new video posted on the Life After Layoff YouTube channel. This video is called How to Spot a Fake Job. I am a software engineer. I have been a software engineer for the last 10 years, so I am going to give my opinion and my advice. So if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get this channel to at least 10 subscribers. So let's get into it.
Unfortunately, in today's labor market, there's a reasonable chance that the position that you're about to apply to, or that recruiter reached out to you for that you got really excited about, isn't even real. And I know this can be super frustrating because you're spending all your valuable time and resources chasing after jobs that don't even exist.
This is especially sad for us as software engineers because sometimes we have to spend days, weeks, or even months preparing for these so-called coding interviews. We have to grind on lead code, or I don't know how to pronounce it in English, lead code, for tons of hours preparing, learning about data structures, algorithms, everything. And to know that we are preparing for a job posting or a job listing that wasn't even hiring in the first place is just sad. So it is a shame that companies do this. Anyways.
When you could be spending your time building the right networks and doing the things to actually land a position. And I know that people are wondering, well, why do companies create fake jobs to begin with? And I actually created another video that you can go and check out. But in this video, I want to teach you how to spot these fake jobs so that you don't waste your time. But before we get into that, if you're interested in more career and job search related content just like this, directly from a corporate recruiter, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You may also want to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content. So one of the most telltale and obvious signs that a job is fake is if they tell you at the very top they have no intention of filling it. And that's what's called a pipeline wreck in the industry.
I guess this is the obvious one when they are telling you that this isn't a job anyways. I didn't know that these job postings were called pipeline jobs. I know that there are some job postings that are there just to have some people ready for them in case they ever need it. But sometimes they don't even need the people. They just have the job postings there for publicity, for marketing, to make the company look like they are actively recruiting when in fact they aren't. This just looks good for them because it makes it look like that they are growing or they are hiring when in fact they are not.
When I say rec, I mean requisition. In other words, a job posting. So why would a company post a pipelining job to begin with? Well, in theory, what the company is trying to do is build a candidate pool so that when they do have some job in the future, that they'll be able to react more quickly and fill the job in a much more expedited manner. The reality is, though, the position that you're applying to doesn't actually exist in the company. And in some cases, they may tell you that it's a pipeline rec, and that's probably doing you a favor. But in other cases, they won't even actually indicate it, and they'll never have any intention of filling the job. And you'll apply to it, and you basically go into limbo. And in a lot of cases, you'll never get rejected because there was never a job to reject you against.
Or sometimes they reject you even immediately. You apply for a position, and then they reject you after like 30 seconds. I know that sometimes the HR people or the recruiters have some software that immediately rejects people based on some keywords, but that's not always the case.
Begin with. So what you want to do is read the language of the job posting very carefully, because oftentimes companies, at least ones who are above the cuff, will indicate that the position is not actually available today and that it may be open in the future. Because what they're admitting to you is hey, this is a pipelining rec. And in those cases, you need to decide whether or not you want to spend your valuable time and resources applying for a position that you're likely never going to get called for. And in the case where the company is not telling you in the job posting, Unfortunately, there's not really a good way to tell whether or not it's a pipeline wreck or not. The next sign to look for is if the company seems to be ambiguous and relatively shady. In other words, I would go and look at their website and try to verify the details of the position, of the company, and of the job location that you're applying to. Because oftentimes these companies will have minimal contact information. Their email addresses may be generic or not a branded email. And if you look at the address for the corporate headquarters, it may not actually exist at all. So it might be worth doing your due diligence, cutting and pasting it into Google Maps and just doing the street view, making sure that there's actually an office where they say there's one.
Yeah, he's basically saying that we need to do our due diligence and verify that this is a real company and this is a real position. And if and there are vague details that we shouldn't maybe even apply to it. The sad part is that for software engineering positions, many of the job postings are vague and have always been vague. I'm sure you guys have seen that for many software engineering positions, for any kind of role, database administrator, developer, web developer, backend developer, front-end developer, in many companies, the position or the description for the position is very vague. It has always been vague. They give you a ton of requirements and they don't give you any specifics. They just tell you that they need a programmer that knows how to program in a million languages like Python, Java, JavaScript, C, C Sharp, C++, Ruby, and all of these programming languages, and then a ton of technologies. You need to know how to use MySQL, Oracle SQL, Microsoft SQL, PostgreSQL. So this is a good advice, but the tech job postings, the tech job listings have always been a little vague, except in companies that are specialized in software engineering, like the big ones, for example, Google or Facebook, and so on and so forth.
And of course, you want to look at the different divisions, maybe even click through some of the people who work at the company and see if they're actually real profiles. Because the companies who are set up as shells, they'll often be like whack-a-mole. One day they'll be here, the next day they'll be gone. And so if you see an opportunity that looks a little suspicious, do your due diligence before you apply to it, because chances are it's probably not a real company to begin with.
Yeah.
You may want to check their press releases or go and Google search the name looking for company news, or check their social media and make sure that they're actually a legit company.
Again, this is good advice, and we need to do a little due diligence, but I don't believe everyone has all the time in the world to just do the research about every company that they are applying to. I don't usually have the time to check press releases and social media and all of that for every single company. It is just unrealistic. You can do a 10-minute Google search to see if they are real or not, but that's it. I wouldn't suggest to spend so much time.
Because if you notice that they seem to have only gotten set up in the last 6 months, it's probably a fake company and they're probably trying to scam you. And I would take this one a step further. If you learned about the job because somebody reached out to you, say through LinkedIn, verify their information as well, because oftentimes you'll see people who have very generic backgrounds or backgrounds that aren't related to the types of jobs that they're recruiting for. And unfortunately, there's a new scam going around on LinkedIn that's becoming more and more prevalent, where these fake profiles are reaching out to people with part-time job opportunities. And I've actually received several of them myself. So use your intuition here, click on the person, see if they're even working at the company, see how long their profile has been set up for.
Yes, unfortunately, it is very easy to fake a person on LinkedIn. You can create a profile and say that you work at Google, Amazon, or any company. And as far as I know, they don't ask you for any verifications. I have always had my resume there, the company that I work for, and they don't ask me for a credential or anything that verifies that I'm actually working there. So it is, again, a good advice, but I'm not sure if you can 100% be sure that someone is actually working for a company.
see what their work history is, click on some of those employers, just go down the rabbit hole a little bit, and you probably discover pretty quickly whether or not it's fake. The next red flag that I would look for, and this is in particular for folks who are sitting in the United States, and I'm sure my tech friends know all about this one. I would be very wary of recruiting agencies or companies who reach out to you from offshore, because oftentimes these positions will come from resume mills. In other words, these third-party companies will get a hold of job postings, and then they'll try to recruit on behalf of the company without the company's knowledge or permission. And then they'll take those sourced resumes and then approach the company saying they've got the perfect fit for them. Basically, they're trying to backdoor their way into getting a placement. But I've also found that the even legitimate ones that reach out to you who really have jobs, they're usually really low quality and they're often not worth your time pursuing. Now, please, this isn't a blanket statement saying that all offshore recruiters aren't reputable, but do your due diligence and decide how you want to spend your time, and certainly don't send them any personal information about yourself. The next sign to look for that a job might be fake, or at the very least is a big red flag, is if the position is repeatedly posted and never seems to get filled.
Yes, this is a big one. There are many job postings on LinkedIn that seem to never get filled or have been filled for a very long time. It is sad because you see 1,000 people applying and it never gets filled, or sometimes companies just close a position and then they open the exact same one. And again, LinkedIn is a good platform, but there aren't many filters or verifications for recruiters and companies and for users. So this will always happen.
This is especially true for smaller companies who may not have a lot of headcount, but there's also a possibility it could be an evergreen job requisition, meaning that there's always a job open at the company, which in and of itself may be a red flag because they can't keep people as a revolving door. But if the position is repeatedly posted over and over again, they're either extremely picky for what they're looking for, or the position just doesn't exist and they're just collecting applications for the hell of it. Anyway, it's up to you to decide if you want to waste your time with a company who posts the same job over and over and over again, and you've been able to confirm that nobody's ever been placed into that job. Go over to LinkedIn and check out yourself. Or if the people who have been on LinkedIn, they keep on turning them over very quickly, because either way, it's probably a waste of time. The next thing I would pay attention to is if the job seems too good to be true. They may be reaching out to you for a role that you don't qualify for. Maybe it's 2 or 3 levels above you and it's got this grand title, or they may promise you things like ridiculous salaries and bonuses and or the possibility of working remote. So they kind of dangle this trinket in front of you, hoping that you'll bite on it. And certainly in the case where compensation is way out of whack with the rest of the industry, the very first thing I would be thinking is, why is the compensation so different than everybody else? What's the catch? And if there isn't a catch, it might be a fake job to begin with. So again,
yeah, it is always funny how some of these companies, fake companies, they are offering you $200,000 a year or $2 million a year, and it is a small company with 100 people. How can you even afford to pay someone $2 million a year if you are just starting?
Again, do your due diligence. I would say trust your gut here. And if the job seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
It probably is.
And in line with it, if the recruiter who reaches out to you is trying to sell you on a position and they won't disclose who the company is and they're being very vague about all the details, that's another red flag to consider, because if it's a reputable company and a reputable recruiter, they're going to share with you those details. And taking that a step further, if the job posting itself is very vague and there's not a lot of details listed on the position, or there seems to be some interesting misspellings of technologies or skills, or something just doesn't seem right about the job posting itself. Those are all things to be paying careful attention to, because those are indicators that it might be a scam opportunity and they're just trying to bait and switch you. And
sometimes they even ask you for money. It's like you have to buy some equipment or some sort of program, and they never call you back.
Importantly is, if a company is trying to get you to compensate them or share overly personal information with them, you should be extremely cautious of it. In fact, any reputable third-party agency, internal corporate recruiter, or company themselves.
Yeah, I believe this, needless to say, never ever give money to a company just to apply for a position or to secure your position. There are many scams going around like this, like they are asking you to donate for a charity, or maybe they are trying to get you to buy some equipment, or they tell you that you first need to invest in some stuff. Never do it, and no company, no serious company is going to tell you that you need to pay to get a position.
Will ever require you to compensate them in any shape, form, or fashion in order to be considered for a job.
Yeah.
So if any company is asking you to pay in order to be placed in front of an organization or to be considered for a role there, you should run like hell. And finally, if you apply for this position or a recruiter reaches out to you and they try to interview you either immediately or they want to interview you in some unorthodox manner. For example, this recruiter may ask you to interview immediately through WhatsApp or some other third-party messaging tool, and then they'll act like they're giving you the position. In other words, it almost seems too easy to land the job. They may ask you some very generic and basic questions, and then they'll proceed to move to an offer, but there is a little asterisk here. The asterisk being is that they will often try to get you to share personal information with them, like your social security number or your bank information, in order to set up your new hire enrollment, or a common scam where they'll ask you to purchase from their catalog.
Yeah, and this is very similar to the previous one. They are saying that there are scams going around where they ask you for personal details and then they use those details to get banking information, all of that. Yes, this is never give personal information like that. I would also like to add that for software engineering positions, there are many recruiters or companies that are somewhat legitimate companies, but they are trying to give you some sort of project, and this project is in fact something that they want you to do for free for them. What do I mean by this? Sometimes you're applying for a role and they need to know if your skills are good. So they tell you to complete a project. They need you to build a module for a mobile application or for a web application or something like that. And this is a huge project that takes a month to complete. You complete it and then they tell you that they are not interested in you. But then 3 months later or 6 months later, you see that they are using your code. So if you're a software engineer and you're applying for a position, make sure that the project that they are asking you to build or the programming problem that they are asking you to do it's something that can be done in a reasonable amount of time, maybe in a day or two, or maybe even in just a couple of hours with the interviewer there. If they tell you that you need to complete a project for them that is, a month-long project where you need to build an app for them to prove that you're a real Android developer, a very good developer, just tell them no, it is not worth it, and it is probably someone that is scamming you, or maybe not scamming you, maybe that's not the right word, but they are trying to use you and your code instead of building it themselves.
A list of office supplies so that you can get up and running and that they'll reimburse you later. And of course,
they never
receive the office supplies and you never get reimbursed. So don't fall for those types of things. If it seems too good to be true, again, it probably is, and you have to use due diligence here. So that's how I would identify whether or not a job is fake. And it's unfortunate that we need to do this in today's economy, considering it's so hard to get a job as it is. But there's companies who are happy to waste your time. And unfortunately, there are scammers out there who prey on people in need. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful. Always stay vigilant in your job search. And if you need a little bit more help getting back into the employment market with actually reputable employers, then that's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called lifeafterlayoff.com, which is loaded with tips and strategies from an insider's perspective. And I share my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. The first one is called Resume Rocket Fuel, which is designed to teach you exactly how to write a resume
this is the video
that doesn't get you to the job. And that's where the power of LinkedIn comes in.
And make sure to check out this guy's channel. It is very good. So thank you for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe. Again, I'm trying to get to 10 subscribers, and see you next time. Bye.